It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Welcome, everybody, to the Health in the Real World podcast. So glad you could make it. Today, we're here with Pereira. Bree, how's it going today?
Oh, well, it's been a beautiful day. I'm really happy to be living in California in December.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, what I tell people is it does get cold at night. It's getting down to I think it was 37 last night. But daytime, It's like mid to high 60s, right? Not bad.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm so surprised by it. I'm glad that I'm bummed that it's not raining as much, but I'm glad because my dog will actually go out on walks. So that's
there you go. It's hard to get your dog to go out in the rain, right?
I'm standing with an umbrella over him on the lawn. It's kind of embarrassing, but it works.
Spoiled dogs. These spoiled
Totally.
dogs. So, Bree, if you could just start out, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, about your fitness background, and about what you're doing now.
Yeah. So, grew up right here in the Bay Area. I was an athlete. I played a little bit of everything, basketball, volleyball. Basketball was my love. But I did tennis as well. I played flag football in junior high. I just wanted to try a little bit of everything. And I loved it. I loved staying active. I got two older brothers, so they definitely pushed me a lot too. And then when I was 15, I messed up my shoulder playing volleyball. I got a block on it though, so I think it was worth it. And then I also ended up herniating two discs in my lower back, L4 and L5. I'm thankful that I didn't have to get any surgery for it or anything, but I did have to get a couple of epidural injections to help with that inflammation. It's been 10 years dealing with just back pain management. I haven't had any serious flare-ups, but that was a huge learning curve for me to learn at a really young age. But again, it's just one of the things that I'm really thankful for because it led me into studying kinesiology at Sonoma State University. Go see Wolves. And, while I was there, I learned a lot, had a lot of really great relationships and, learned some leadership skills that I didn't realize that I was going to end up learning and taking away from. And I was able to, implement that with a couple other kinesiology students to start this free community-based exercise program called 3-Win Fitness. And that was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me, to, the whole group of us, because it just kind of launched our fitness and wellness careers even before we got out of college. And that's something that I'm so tendable for that. And, after that, it's still running successfully today, which is pretty cool. I ended up finding myself into the corporate fitness industry. It's a little different than commercial fitness. It's definitely a little more personalized. You can get to interact with people better. At least I think so. I'm a little biased, but I totally love it. And, I was working at Oracle in Santa Clara as their health and fitness specialist for the past 3 years. It's been a total blessing. I've met a lot of really great people through that. With the whole pandemic, as a lot of us, the plans changed, but that's okay. I was able to work from home for a little while with them, and then things switched up big time for us. And, I was trying to find my grounding, in terms of what do I want to do for a career? And I started to apply to different, other companies because I love teaching. That's something I don't ever want to give up for as long as I'm able to do it. So I ended up applying to a couple different companies, and that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm teaching 3 different boot camps for this company called Anissa Women's Fitness. They're an absolutely amazing, made by a woman for a woman company. And then I'm teaching a couple other classes for Fit Track over in Redwood City, and that's just a big community for everybody to come in and get moving. It's honestly made a really big difference for me during this whole pandemic of teaching those classes. So nice. That's where I'm at.
That sounds great. So I want to go back to what you said about your back, and you hurt your shoulder, you hurt your back. I can really relate to this. I was 14 years old and I bulged a disc in my lower back. My story is not as I don't know. You said you went up for the block and you actually got the block and then hurt
Yeah.
yourself during the block.
Yeah.
So that's a little more glorious than what happened with me. I was literally warming up for basketball practice. I was in 8th grade and I was not very flexible, but I was trying to touch my toes, just like stretching. And on my way back up, boom, I literally thought somebody came and hit me with a baseball bat. It was the weakest way to hurt your back. And for the next 10 years, it sounds like you're in your early 20s, which is probably right. It was right about the time I was in my early 20s when I finally found and started studying all the kinesiology and biomechanics and everything. And I'm going to send you my book. It's called Help, I Threw Out My Back. I've been doing this for like, 16 years now, helping people get out of back pain through exercise. So it's really become a passion of mine, helping people who they don't want to get surgery, probably don't need surgery. You don't want to rely on the chiropractor forever, and you want to take power back into your own hands. So I'll send you that over. But it sounds like you probably have a good kind of leg up on that anyway. But Bree, let's switch gears. Let's go to some sort of practical advice. I really like gearing the show to people who maybe are beginners, because I think going from the couch to the workout, whatever workout you choose, is probably the hardest step, right? Going from 0 to 1. So let's say you're at a party and you meet somebody who admits to you, hey, you're a trainer. Let me tell you, confessional, I'm not in shape. What do I do? What's like the one or two things that you would recommend to somebody like that who has nothing, like they're not fit at all? Where's their starting point?
Yeah, no, I love that. Definitely, I get this a lot, but I love those kind of questions because every person's different, right? And I think that's the biggest thing to kind of put out there, right from right out of the gates, that every person is different. So it's a matter of asking yourself, what kind of exercise do you like to do? Like what was it that you did when you were younger that just made you like really happy? Like, or what was it recently that you've done that you're just like, oh my gosh, like, I went on a hike and it was so cool, it was so pretty. Like I just felt so like, I felt so alive afterwards. And it's like, if those are the kind of things that make you really happy, those are the kind of things that you should try to go for. A lot of people say like, oh, you have to do these HIIT classes, you got to lift a lot of weights, you got to do this. And like personally, those are my favorite things to do. Like I love lifting weights. Like it took me some time to get used to it with my back injury, but the second that I was able to implement it, I loved it and I'll never go back. But for some people, lifting weights is really boring. Like some people just don't find as much they're not enjoying it. So when they think like, oh, I'm gonna go work out, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna lift some weights, and they're like already, tuned out of their workout. So for just getting started, the biggest thing is just do something that you really enjoy. So it's like if you love to dance, if you love to move, try out some Zumba or try out some cardio kickboxing. Kickboxing is a super fun way to you're having to really synchronize your move to some music. So do something like that. If you do like to generate some more power and you want to feel like really strong, go grab some weights and, ask for help big time too. So find something that you love, ask for help. If you're brand new into it, I know I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, I want to get into, I want to start working out more, but I want to do it on my own first and then ask for help. And I'm like, you just told me that you don't know what you're doing. So right. You're going to get into movement and then you're going to come ask for help. And then that coach is going to have to reset everything that you just taught yourself because it probably wasn't the best habits to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just ask for help straight out of the gates. That's what I had to do, after the back injury, which I'm sure you're right there with me on that, Chris, where it's you get injured and it's a whole new thing. You have to relearn your body. Even if you're not injured and you're just trying to get back into movement, you have to relearn your body. You're not going to be the same that you were if you're in your 30s. You're not going to be the same that you were even in your early 20s or when you were a teenager in high school running around during PE. Your body's changed a lot and it changes fast. So if you're trying to get into something new, make sure that you relearn your body so that you understand when you're pushing yourself in a healthy way versus when you're pushing yourself to a point of injury.
Yeah, I think that's good. I want to double back on what you said about how, some people they say they want to start it on their own and then figure it out and then ask for help. And I think I've heard this too with people saying that they want, uh, they don't want to talk to a trainer until they lose a few pounds. And I said, well, isn't that trainer going to help you lose a few pounds? And it's like, there's an interesting, it's almost like you go to the other side of the fence, right? If you're on one side of the fence, there's an interesting logic that once you start exercising for a while, you kind of lose that. I don't know. There's like excuses or rationalizations, and really, it comes down to exactly what you said. It's like, just do something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. There's a million and one different ways to work out. Pick one, and then just do it, and expect that you're going to be doing it for a long enough period of time that it's actually going to benefit you, right? Not just like, hey, take a weekend class here and there, but it's like, invest a little bit of your time and make it part of your life, right?
Right, exactly. I think that's the best way to look at it. It's like you're investing your time. We invest our time in like our favorite shows. Like, don't get me wrong, like I've binge watched the Great British Baking Show. I can't say how many times, and that's a lot of time to put into it. Like now I've come to the point where, when I'm watching a show or if I'm, doing something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit and stretch while I'm watching this like 30 or 45-minute show, because I get to, watch my show and I'm, feel good about that. But then I'm also moving during it instead of just like being a little couch potato. But it's like even just stretching and doing different stuff like that, some mobility work, it takes your body the distance. It does, like, that's the kind of foundational movements and work that you need in order to progress in your favorite workout class or when you're lifting weights. Like, it's the simple basic stuff that's going to help you avoid injury, that's going to help you to just improve in the long term. And those are the kind of things that we tend to overlook, because people think that when it comes to working out, that you have to like work up this wild sweat and burn as many calories as possible. And that's like the equivalent of a good workout. But a good workout should be like you feeling revived, you're feeling a little bit better, your body feels a little more settled into itself, right? Like you're not really tight or different things like that. Like you want to feel good. You don't just want to be drenched.
Right. No, I agree. And people are surprised when I tell them that I actually don't work that hard. And if you when you're first starting, if you really approach it like that, like, I'm going to just take the next step today. I don't need to go crazy. I just need to take the next step, that maybe I go a tiny bit outside of what I did yesterday or last week. And if you keep that methodology, I think a couple things happen. One is that, and again, this, the chance of injury goes way down. And then it's just more enjoyable. And, even myself, I love working out. I love it, but I don't want someone to like try to kill me. Right. And I think that's one of the perceptions of trainers, and maybe, shows like The Biggest Loser, or, all the Instagram celebrities you see their crazy workouts. And so the perception is just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to kill myself in order to get fit. And it's really not true. Right. It's just find something you like, do it. So this is good stuff.
Be consistent with it.
And
right?
be consistent with it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where do you personally struggle? So we've talked a little bit about what we need to do. And I think as trainers, people maybe tend to look at us and say like, oh yeah, well, it's easy for you to do it. But we all have struggles, right? So where do you struggle with your own personal health and fitness, and what sort of strategies have you used to overcome that struggle?
I grew up in sports, right? So I do naturally have a pretty competitive personality. I'll always deal with a smile. People always will comment that I'm always smiling anytime I'm doing something. So don't let the smile fool you. I love to like put in some work, and I love to reach my like capacity of, as hard as I can work. But that's not always the best way to approach different things. So it can be really, and it has been easy for me in the past to just burn out. Before the pandemic, before it happened, I was working out. It was easy for me to work out maybe 2 or 3 times a day, for like 5 days a week. And it was it was fun. Like I was having a good time with it, but I would wake up every morning and my body was just like not having it. Like I was hurting so bad. But I just kept pushing myself because I was like, well, you know, I have to keep being there for the people in the gym. I have to keep being there for my classes. I want to put all into the workouts that I'm doing. Like I was doing, I started doing Orange Theory with my mom when I moved back home. She wanted a workout buddy, but she doesn't like to just work out in the gym. She likes somebody pushing her. She likes the class aspect of it. She wanted to do it with somebody. So here comes her daughter, fit daughter. So she's like, Bree, you're coming to do this with me. So I was doing those. It ended up being like, I don't know, 3 to 4 times a week that I was doing those. I was teaching 6 classes a week. Whenever we had some downtime in the gym that I was working at, we would do a workout. Our team meetings were workouts. You know, we had to stay on a volleyball court and a basketball court there. And the members would pull me in and they'd be like, come on, we need one more person. And I was like, okay. So I'd be going and playing volleyball for 45 minutes or something, or basketball for an hour. And that's a really hard workout too. And then I started training with a personal trainer who helped me so much to just bring things down. But I was doing that twice a week. I mean, I'm just exhausted saying it all out loud.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it was a lot. And that's what I was doing every single week. And here I was telling, you know, my own clients, like, you know, make sure that you're giving yourself rest days and that you're taking time for yourself and, you know, that you're listening to your body. And I wasn't doing it in the best way that I could have been. So talking to my trainer and talking to, you know, a couple of my coworkers who I really respected, they were kind of like, Bree, you need to pull things back. Like you got to chill out. Like you have all this energy and you love it. But we can see that like you walk into the gym, sometimes you're walking into work, you're walking in your workout and you're tired. Like you got to give yourself that time to just rest. And that's kind of what this whole year has been about for me, is just taking things down a couple of notches. So it went from 2 to 3 workouts a day to, you know, 3 to 4 workouts a week. And it's done my body wonders. You know, I've had to adjust my eating a little bit too. And, you know, I'm lucky that I live in a house where, you know, my family, we eat pretty well. We don't really, you know, we love our chips and, you know, different things like that. But, you know, for the most part, we're eating really good whole foods. So the eating has never really been too much of a problem for me. The intuitive eating has kind of come over time, obviously, and studying everything. I guess it's kind of just ingrained itself in me. But the biggest problem that I've always had was just pulling back and just being okay with, you know, doing 20 minutes of stretching versus an hour of all out hit.
Yeah. That's definitely a real issue. And I know a lot of people who are kind of either trainers or just in that fitness mindset who I would say they're almost like addicted to exercise. And I think, and I've been there too. And this year, and you know, slowing down has really kind of forced me to not use weights for the year. And so I'm doing a lot of body weight and I'm doing stretching and core work, and which is what I do for my clients in classes. But I've been there, you know, kind of addicted to the rush, to the adrenaline. And I don't think that's a very fun place to be, but a lot of people are there. And I think what helped me get out of it when I did realize that I was, you know, kind of like what your coworkers did, they kind of pulled you aside. I pulled myself aside and I said, Chris, why do you work out? Like, do you really work out because you're like an adrenaline junkie, or do you work out because of the other benefits that it provides you? Right. So, you know, the hit workouts that you're talking about, it's a 2-step process, right? There's the breakdown and the build up. And it's really the build up that is what we need. And that's, you know, it just happens when you're sitting on the couch and you're relaxing and, you know, breathing and meditating and hanging out with friends and all that fun stuff, right?
Exactly.
After the workout, right?
Exactly. It's the recovery where you get the most, like you said, the buildup. You know, like making sure that we get enough sleep is huge. Your body is literally rebuilding itself while you're sleeping. So if you're cutting yourself short in your sleep, you're hurting yourself. Even if you are, you know, eating pretty like, you know, an 80-20, like 80% good, 20%, you know, like your little cheat days or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you are working out, like you're definitely gonna take you so far if you're not resting, and sleep is a really big part of that. Hydrating is a huge part of that. And just doing the the stretching and the mobility and the core work, the simple, like kind of like boring. I mean, I love it personally. Like, again, I think it's just because we both had those back injuries where we're just like, oh, the core work is like harder than lifting the weights.
It is. Yeah.
If you're doing it right, you
Yeah.
should be like shaking and sweating after you're done with a core workout too, like a really good one.
And feeling it in all the right spots, right? No back pain, no neck pain, no tension in the wrong, in the joints and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wild to think, like, some clients that I've had to slow them down. They were like, I want to lose weight and I want to build muscle. And I'm like, those are awesome goals to have, but like, let's see how you move. And, there's a couple different movement patterns where I'm like, okay, we can change that a little bit. But I have to pull you back. I'm like literally grabbing them by the shoulder saying like, you have to listen to me. You're going to seem like you're not really putting in that much work, but I promise these correctional movements are going to translate to everything that you want, like your goals to be. And the people that really took that to heart, incredible results. Like, they were able to not only gain muscle, but their posture got a lot better. They weren't hurting as much when they were sitting at work for the long hours of the days. So it's like those foundational things are like not so exciting stuff are again, like I'll say it like a broken record. Those are the things that are going to get you the results that most people want.
Yeah. And I think even those people who do want to gain muscle, they want like the big shoulders and arms. They don't want to look like a caveman in the process, right? Like everyone wants that posture. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that that's something you can actually train. Like posture is not about like, your grandma poking you in the back at Thanksgiving dinner, telling you to sit up straight, right? It just happens. It just happens naturally when you have that muscle balance and you have a strong back and your vertebrae are protected.
Right.
So Bree, actually, we're going to move on to the last part. I like this question because this allows us to go big picture. So we've been talking a lot about health and fitness. We're going to go even bigger. We're going to talk about like life strategies, skills, goal setting, all that cool stuff. So if you were let's say you're giving like a motivational speech to some high school or college graduates, what is your like 1 to 2 minute motivational speech sound like for them?
It's like the TED Talk question. Like, what's your TED Talk pitch?
Yeah. What's your TED Talk? Exactly.
I love it. Oh man. I think I can't emphasize enough, like reaching out and asking for help. I'm definitely one of those people that I prefer to do things on my own if I can. Again, after the injuries and everything, I love my family and I love my friends, but they were always like, oh, Brie, you can't move that. Like, oh no, you have to be careful. Like they were really being very like helicoptery over me. And again, I'm thankful for it. I'm glad that I have people that care about me about that. But it kind of got under my skin a little bit where I was like, no, like I can do this. I can lift this suitcase on my own, or I can, reach for this high, thing on this shelf and grab that by myself. Like I'm capable. But, when it came to, bigger things, bigger issues, whether it be in the gym or, personally, getting burnt out and feeling overwhelmed, I had to reach out to people. I had to start talking. I was, been working in the same gym for a couple of different years, and I'm glad that I had one particular coworker who just became like a part of the family for me. He kind of reminded me a lot of my brothers, and I'm so thankful for that, to have that in the workplace. But he, was seeing me every single day, and he saw that I was starting to feel a little bit more out and kind of just not myself. And he kind of asked me like, Brie, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm doing good. That's how you're supposed to respond, right? And he asked like, no, how are you really doing? And I kind of like paused and I looked at him and I just broke down in tears. And I didn't even realize it, like how stressed and how like wound up I was in my own head until he asked me this question. You could just tell like it was just this genuine, I want to know how you're doing. And I lost it. And that kind of just, we talked for a couple of hours. Like, again, I can't say how like grateful I am to have had that conversation with him and to have been able to have that, relationship with my coworker. Like not a lot of people can say they have somebody to talk to at work like that. And that kind of just led me into this journey of checking in with myself and understanding, when I said yes to going out somewhere, to going and doing something, like asking myself again, is that really going to benefit me? Like, is this something that I really need to do right now? Or am I feeling exhausted? Am I feeling burnt out? Do I need to actually say no? Like, understanding that it's okay to change plans. It's okay to change course. If you know that it's going to do you better in the long run. Like, I canceled plans, I canceled trips because my body, or, like my head just wasn't in the game. It wasn't even a matter of my body being it. It was just like my head was just, my mind was not there. I was very cloudy. I was very all over the place. I ended up going, I go to therapy now because I just needed to get a lot of different things out. I was so caught up in this idea of fixing things by myself and keeping things to me and taking care of it on my own, but it wasn't really working out. And, the second that I started to talk to my therapist, that I had, opened up a little bit more to my family about what kind of, anxiety, depression that I was feeling, on a weekly basis. I mean, that's not every day, but it definitely comes in waves. I ended up becoming more comfortable with myself, and it helped me with my relationships and my friendships. It just ended up translating outward once I started to take care of myself inward. And it wasn't even a matter of getting the perfect workout in, or, getting all the protein or eating all the right stuff. It was just a matter of asking, like, how are you really doing? It's a very powerful question. And it's something that you gotta honestly ask yourself and answer yourself. I mean, every week.
I think that's really powerful. We all have gifts and we're all good at something. And, if you think about like somebody, let's say, who wants to come in, who, is struggling with their back pain, their posture. And for you and me, people like us, it's an easy fix, right? We deal with it all day, every day. And that's good to remember that for another struggle that we're going through, there may be someone else out there who, for them, it's an easy fix. They can just help guide us, and it might take just a couple days or weeks, and all of a sudden, boom, we're good. I mean, I heard once I think we're like, you're one relationship away from completely transforming your life, and that's probably very accurate. And that's great that you had that coworker who just kind of, he wouldn't accept you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, right?
Right.
Like, all right, I'm gonna dig a little deeper and see what's going on with her.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Bree, how can people get a hold of you if they want to continue the conversation with you, or if they want to work with you, if they want to train with you? How can they get a hold of you on social media, or do you have a website?
I think social media is probably the best way to go about that. I check that on all the time. I try to keep that as genuine and honest as possible. So go ahead and reach me on that. It's at, brace yourself, at Bree Not the Cheese. That's me.
Bree Not the Cheese?
Bree Not the Cheese.
Okay, what's the story behind that?
So I was, when I was in college, we obviously, we're like, we have to have a cool Instagram handle. And I was just talking with my friends. I was like, what do I do? Should I just do my name? They're like, no, like, you should do something with like a cheese pun, because like, you're Bree and like the cheese. Right. And my friend was like, you got to go Bree Not the Cheese. And we were just like, that's it. And it's been there ever since. It's definitely it's a good icebreaker.
Yeah, definitely. That's how you spell Brie the cheese, right? Just BRE? I don't even know how to spell that.
It's BRIE, I believe, for the cheese.
Oh, okay, so right.
That's even more why it's like Brie.
It's like, there's no I in my name. Don't give me an I, right? Brie Not the Cheese. Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. Cool. Bree Pereira, thank you so much for joining me today. Health in the Real World podcast. Really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, it was awesome to be here. Thank you so much for this, Chris. This is awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.